The other day on my last video, I did a story about Eric Siebert, who just resigned as the U.S. Attorney of the Eastern District of Virginia because he refused to make up evidence against Letitia James and Jim Comey. And he knew if he didn't make up evidence, they would want him out. So he resigned. But that wasn't what caught my eye in the article. Uh, the New York Times reported this, and what caught my eye was one line that said Pam Bondi herself had argued for Eric Siebert to stay on. In other words, she was supporting a man who didn't do what Trump wanted him to do, and basically she lost the plot. She lost the dictator theme line here. It seems that she must have, for a brief moment anyway, forgotten that she was working for a dictator. And dictators always perceive disagreement as disloyalty. And disloyalty is, of course, the worst possible sin. So at the time, I said if Trump finds out about it, because it was so buried in this article and just kind of subtle, like no big deal. But I thought, if he knows about this, he is not going to like it. He's going to blow through the roof on this. And turns out he found out about it and was actually posting about it as I was editing my video. So I didn't see it until afterwards. He found out about it and did exactly what I thought he would do. He's gone ballistic, and I'm going to show you in a minute. But he's on the warpath against Bondi right now. She better straighten up, and she is feeling some heat, I'll tell you that. Anyway, he desperately wants, just to kind of give you the context of the story, he desperately wants somebody at the Justice Department to come up with crimes to charge all his perceived political enemies with, like Adam Schiff and Letitia James and Jim Comey and all these people. But Siebert, who was the U.S. Attorney in Virginia, after conducting an investigation, couldn't find a single shred of evidence that Letitia James had committed any crime. And he sent out a memo to the office saying as much. Um, this guy is a Republican. He was nominated because the staff, Glenn Youngkin's staff, the governor of Virginia, his staff had recommended him to the Trump people. Trump nominated him for this position. And now Trump's calling him woke and a rhino. Because, of course, everybody who doesn't do exactly what Trump wants, no matter if they have to break the law to do it and they refuse to break the law, if that's the reason why they're not doing it, and it doesn't matter what the reason is that they won't do what he wants. If they don't do what he wants, they're a rhino if they were a Republican. Basically, when you hear Trump call somebody a rhino who's a Republican, you know that on the whole, that's probably a good Republican. That's the kind of Republican we like. For those of us who understand the mind of a dictator, though, it was obvious that Trump would be very upset over this. And I'm honestly surprised that Bondi didn't get that. But here, let me show you this story. Just this one line. This is one line out of the New York Times story. And this is the line that caught my attention. Attorney General Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche. Okay, it goes through all this. Anyway, basically the story is this: follow the blue, and try to follow my cross cursor if you can. Attorney General Pam Bondi had privately defended Mr. Siebert against officials who had urged that he be fired and replaced with a prosecutor who would push the cases forward according to senior law enforcement officials. That was it. I read that and I was like, whoa, it could be over for her. So she was arguing in his defense, the guy who wouldn't fulfill the command of the president, which was to go after these people for whom there is no crime. So there will never be any evidence of a crime among these people. Let's look at what the president posted, uh, kind of as I was talking on my last video a couple of days ago. But he wrote this. He did exactly, literally exactly as I was predicting he would do. He said, Pam, okay, with when Trump post something like this and it has your name on it, that's not going to be a good day. Pam, I have reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially, same old story as last time, all talk, no action, nothing is being done. What about Comey, Adam Schiff, Letitia? They're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done. That's not my Trump impersonation voice. That's my dictator impersonation voice. For some reason, I can't do a Queen's accent, so I can't do Trump. I wish I could. Anyway, so he said they're all guilty, but nothing's being done. Then we almost put in a Democrat-supported U.S. attorney in Virginia with a really bad Republican past, a woke rhino who was never going to do his job because he couldn't do it and stay ethical. And that's who always gets punished in this Justice Department. If you're ethical, and there's been many other attorneys fired or who quit and resigned because it was demanded of them to do unethical things, to lie before the court, is one example. And they wouldn't do it. So they quit or they were fired, but they wouldn't do the unethical things that this administration is asking them to do. So he goes on about Eric Siebert. He says he even lied to the media and said he quit and we had no case. No, I fired him and there's a great case. Many lawyers and legal pundits say so, yeah, because you only talk to yes men. So you're only talking to people who will agree with you. Of course, many lawyers say so in your opinion. But look, here's the thing. What is this childlike attitude? No, he didn't quit. I fired him. It's like kids on the playground. He's spending his time on this stuff. Okay, so he's nominating a woman named Lindsay Halligan, who I'm sure is as good of attorney as any AI lawyer could be. Anyway, he says she's a really good lawyer, and he likes you a lot. To Pam, he likes Pam a lot. Oh, she likes you, so y'all are going to get along. Great. And then he says, we can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. So look what's important here. Let's just follow the red. Pam, you're not doing what I asked you to do. All these people are guilty, but nothing's being done. This is a huge, huge rebuke to Pam Bondi. He's saying you're not doing anything. He's mad. And wait till you see how his followers are mad, how mad they are. And then check this out. He says, we can't delay any longer because why? Because law enforcement is at stake, because criminals are on the loose, because people are endangered by this crime wave. No, we can't delay any longer because the delay is killing our reputation and our credibility. That's all he cares about. That's all it is. His reputation and his credibility. All right. First response to that post on his website, this woman says, let's do it, sir. These pardons are illegal. So she's going back to the pardons that Joe Biden did, and which is preventing them from prosecuting these people. And she posts this: do you support Trump voiding auto pen pardons for Dr. Fauci, Liz Cheney, and Adam Schiff? Okay, let's go get him. Listen, just one word about the auto pen thing. Joe Biden has said since he's left office that he did indeed intend for all those pardons to be signed. And that's end of story. There's no there's no issue there. Whether I don't know, I don't even know if they were signed by the auto pen, but I haven't heard anyone deny it. So I'm assuming that's true. But the president has full ability and authority to say, look, I want to sign these pardons, do it with the auto pen. I don't feel like writing today, or whatever the reason is. I don't know. But if he confirms that he did intend for them to be signed, the accusation is that they were signed without his knowledge or without his approval. That's what the Trump people are saying. Biden, the auto pen signed them. Biden had no intention as president of actually signing these things. Well, he's come out and said, no, I did have intention of doing it, and I knew it was being done, and I asked for it to be done. So that's the end of the story. There's nothing there, no charge there. All right. Here's another one. Okay, now follow this. There's a little grammar problem, which I'm going to mention, and people will say, "Oh, you're being pedantic," but no, it's important here. New transcripts show that Schiff knew there was no Russia collusion, but lied anyway. Okay, the man should be kicked out of the Congress. Blah blah blah. Look, I just want to comment on how thorough they are and how careful they are with their information. This is a meme that somebody took the time to create. They set the type. They chose that typeface, that size font, all that. They chose this picture of Adam Schiff. They chose the colors and the glow. I mean, they put a lot of time into it, right? And they're missing a letter here. There's a missing S. It could go on either word. It could go on transcript or show. But new transcripts show that no, that's not possible. Transcript transcript here is singular, but show is plural. So you got to match them up. You got to say new transcripts show. Or if you want to make it plural or singular because there's only one transcript, you say new transcript shows. All right. Look, it to me it's a sign of how careless they are about everything. They're careless not only about their conclusions that they come to after taking a careless look at the facts and then twisting them carelessly, but their carelessness shows even in their writing. It's a little mistake. I make typos like that all the time. But if I was going to make a meme like this, I would put a little more time into it and check it one more time to make sure it's right. They didn't do that. All right, stop talking, start arresting. There you go. Doesn't matter that they're all innocent and there's no evidence, right? Doesn't matter. Until this happens, nothing will change. Read truth if you want to see prep walks. Here we go again with the carelessness and the lack of attention to detail. The same lack of attention to detail that they give to all the theories that they put out, all the conspiracy theories. Until this happens, nothing will change. Read truth if you want to see perp walks, not prep walks. It's perp for perpetrator, meaning the person who did a crime, not prep for what would that be? Preparator? I don't know. Anyway, these guys, I'm telling you, okay, this blah, blah, blah here. It's all about the same. But anyway, you see MAGA is mad. They want all these people arrested. But you know what? The bigger story here The bigger story is the fact that we now have a president who's openly saying he wants people prosecuted because he perceives them as personal political enemies. And by firing prosecutors who come out and say there's no evidence against those people and replacing them, he's saying that he wants someone who will make evidence up, who will create it out of thin air. So you know what? The time of speculation is over. We can no longer say we believe Trump wants to be a dictator. We can no longer say it looks like he may have authoritarian tendencies. No, we can't say any of those things now. We can no longer speculate on those things. You know why? Because we now have ample evidence that he is, in fact, acting as a dictator. To try to deny it or to even speculate anymore and say, well, this might happen. No, I'm sorry, we can't do that anymore. The things he's doing are not things that presidents of free and democratic societies do. These are the things that are completely against. They go completely against our laws and our traditions. Nearly 250 years of law and tradition is just being thrown out the window. And we can no longer sit here and say, well, if such and such happens, or if this keeps happening, or if we continue on this trajectory, we're going to end up as a dictatorship. No, we're already there. We are already there. These things have happened. This him going after political enemies and sicking the Justice Department on them in the absence of any evidence at all that they've committed crimes, and the prosecutor who comes back and says, I couldn't find any evidence, he fires him. He wants to brag, I fired him, he didn't quit. I mean, that's a bigger insult to the president that he would fire him because he came back and said there's no evidence. Now he's going to replace him with a woman who he thinks will just go and make up the evidence. That's where we are in this country. It's done. It's already done. But now we have to resist and push back and persuade people and help them to see with clear eyes what's really happening right before us. Persuasion is literally our most powerful tool. So keep informed and talk your heart out, okay? And look, if you lose hope, don't lose too much hope. Look at the example of Brazil. They went through this for, I don't know how long their presidential terms are, but for one presidential term with that Bolsonaro guy who's the Brazilian version of Trump, and he's in jail now. So he lost his reelection by something like 1.5 points, even after he had gone on this whole dictatorial rampage for 4 or 5 years, whatever their term is down there. Uh, he nearly won again, but he lost. And that's the good news. It can be done and it can be overturned. It's going to take all of us talking as much as we can to MAGA people and trying to persuade them, trying to see why they think what they do and trying to show them why it's so off base. All right, let's get to it. That's it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.